And I believe that everyone goes through something in life for a reason. Adversity and suffering leads to something greater, something better. You have to believe it. So I would say number one, watch success stories. Look at channels. Understand you're the only person going through this. And you know the funny thing? Every person think there's one symptom that everyone really, really, really puts as there, like, wow, I can't believe this happened to me. No one else is experiencing this. No, I don't think that there's any undiscovered symptom of anxiety. Yeah. And of course, you being a mentor, you would have seen everything possible, right?
Yeah, that's true. I've seen
Yeah.
everything
Yeah.
like a
So
hundred times.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
So success stories really helps you overcome it. Now,
Welcome to the channel. I have an amazing recovery story. I have Jovan here, and he's going to be explaining to you how the recovery journey looks like. Now, a couple of things about Jovan before we get into the video, okay? Here's the interesting thing about Jovan. The first thing was he actually fell into the cycle before. So a lot of people that reach out to me that we work with in the mentorship, they say, Sean, I've gone through this before and I really thought I was out of it and I felt like I fell back in. Now, Jovan's a great example of exactly just that. And he's really gonna highlight to you how he's able to actually overcome it this time, as opposed to something he'll always fall back into. It's really great. He's very, very smart. He really understands recovery. That's the great part. I think as he went through the recovery journey, he had no choice but to really understand it, and he really understood it. And the second thing about Jovan that's really interesting, he's actually not in the mentorship. He wasn't in the mentorship. He did, watch my content. He watched other people's content. He was really able to recover on his own. And the biggest thing I wanted to highlight to you about that is that recovery comes from within. Doesn't matter what you do, right? Doesn't matter if you read a book, doesn't matter even if you join the program, that doesn't guarantee recovery. What guarantees recovery is, are you willing to put in the work, right? The mentorship working with me and my team just helps you with implementation, right? It helps you with implementing the steps, making sure you're doing things correctly, monitoring you so that we can collapse time so that you can recover quicker, faster, and more smoother. But the driving engine is still you, right? And Jovan is a great example. If you have the willingness, not just the desire, the willingness to focus on recovery, well, then recovery is yours no matter what. So with that said, let's get started in the video and I'll see you on the other side.
Welcome to the channel. I have Jovan here. Jovan, pleasure to have you here, man. Thanks so much for joining.
thanks for having me, Sean. I appreciate it.
Of course, of course. So Jovan, let's get it started. I want to know, everyone watching this really wants to know, first things first, what were some of like the most intense symptoms you were experiencing? What were some of the really tough times, while you were going through the anxiety recovery journey?
Well, to be honest, symptoms are timeline based.
Mm,
So in the beginning, no, I felt it all. Heart palpitations, dizziness, lightheadedness, derealization, all these things that people list as anxiety symptoms. I had every single one of them. And my main thing was really health anxiety. But I think coming down to the end, my biggest fear was more the chest sensations that you may think is your heart. Yeah, that's the most scariest one for me, to be honest, because your heart is the organ that is supplying everything to your body. So once your heart gives out, so the fear of having a heart attack, the fear of your heart giving out, that is definitely one of the most debilitating experiences I had or symptoms I had.
mm. Yeah, no, naturally that's scary for a lot of people. It was scary for me too, especially with panic attacks and like,
Definitely.
with the heart palpitations and no, I totally understand. So how did all of this start? Like when did this start? How did you fall into the cycle?
Well, to be honest, Sean, I have never so before 2016, I never had anxiety.
Yeah.
I was always an outgoing guy, partying, living life, doing what most young people do. And so I had no idea what a panic attack felt like. I had no idea what really, I mean, having anxiety naturally pre-interview or daily challenges is normal, but I never experienced an actual panic attack before 2016. So it started off in 2016. At that time, I was going through a very hard time in life, job loss, etc., etc. Some really traumatic experiences. I was pretty bored at the time. So I decided to, try some weed, some marijuana, right? And occasionally. And there was one particular night where I thought I got a bad batch. And that night I had some really, really hard, some really bad sensations. So when you're taking a little split, you will, you know, feel it, and you can basically control how high you want to get. Well, when I was taking about 4 or 5 spliffs, I started to feel really, really weird, like some heavy sensations, like this fearful feeling. And I had no idea what it was. So, in order to alleviate it, I went to my friend, Dr. Google, as to how to eliminate the high or being too high on me. And Dr. Google told me to have showers. So here I am, showering about 15 times for that same night, in the shower, like this, come out, feel a little better, sensation come back in the shower again. So continuously all night I was showering. It wasn't working as much. So I did another Google search and it said start to exercise because exercising helps eliminate the high. So I'm like a crazy chicken around my house, my apartment, running around, trying to exercise, trying to lose this weird high. Now mind you, at the time I didn't know that it was a panic attack I was having. It was really, really weird, right? Because as I said before, I wasn't aware of anxiety attacks or panic attacks. So I was thinking that maybe the batch I got was a bad batch of weed. Eventually, after 6 hours, it subsided, and I vowed to myself, being confused, never to ever take a spliff again. Now, out of curiosity, and me being the kind of person that likes to understand things, I decided to try it again the following day on a different batch. And I felt the same way. So here am I wondering, like, am I cursed now? Because I would have enjoyed it like everyone else. But every time I take a spliff, I felt anxious. So I stopped it for a month, and immediately one day I was on my couch and I felt this really weird, the same sensations happening again. And I had no idea it was anxiety. It just felt fearful, like these weird thoughts, feeling your heart is heavy, those weird palpitations. And I actually tried to rush myself to my friend's apartment, and I stayed there for a couple of days. It actually subsided, and I ended up going by my folks for a couple of hours. This was 2016, Old Year's into New Year's. That's the timeline. And I stayed at my folks for a couple of days. But during my stay, I felt the same sensations. So I ran to the doctor, and that's where all hell broke loose. The doctor that diagnosed me with a strong case of, he diagnosed me with an intestinal bug, a stomach bug, and he gave me a very strong case of strong dosage of antibiotics, and that messed up my gut system. So that's when everything started. Now I know the link between the brain and the gut, the microbiome and so forth. Once you have healthy gut bacteria, once that is eliminated, the whole body becomes a little bit of, I would say, disoriented. There's no natural balance. So that basically triggered the anxiety attacks even more. And it's only after, like now, looking back, I can see that the reason for the anxiety attack wasn't the weed or the marijuana. It was really, at that time I was going through a very traumatic experience. And I wouldn't say the weed triggered, but under the high something happened. That coupled with the antibiotics messing up my gut microbiome, that messed me up. And from then on, I suffered with anxiety for 3 years straight. I lost 50 pounds in like 1 month. It was really, really hard. And that's when that's when the anxiety recovery started. And for 3 years, it took me 3 years to recover. So that's the first episode.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, so that happened from, you said 2016. That's at 3 years. That was 2019.
Yeah.
What shifted then?
Well, the thing is this, right? I would say, I wouldn't say that I recovered. I would say that it subsided
Hmm.
over a period of time. And I say that because now I understand what recovery is. At the time, I was focused on my job, I was focused on, which was very hard, by the way. There were times I would be at work and I'd have to run to the sick bay, to the men's, in panic and fear, really
Hmm.
embarrassing moment. And I'm a banker by profession, so leaving your office to go in the bathroom constantly is not a good sign, right?
Hmm.
So it was really, really hard. But I would say that just focusing on life and trying to overcome it,
Hmm.
it happened to naturally subside,
Hmm.
but didn't really fully recover. Because recovery is where you actually take a mindful approach
Hmm.
to apply techniques
Hmm.
to get you through the process and transform yourself into this new person. That
Hmm.
is really recovery, but I didn't recover. It subsided,
Hmm.
you know. So I wouldn't say I recovered. It basically subsided.
Hmm. Got it. Got it. Okay. So you kind of just went back to living. It subsided on its own. So that was the first, I
Yeah, the
guess, wave,
first.
you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, the first wave. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, okay. So then that happened. And then what happened after that?
So from 2019 to 2020, I was living life out enjoying myself. Anxiety here and there, but not in a really bad anxious state, no panic attacks, nothing. Right? The pandemic, as you know, would have caused a lot of issues with job loss and so forth. So I went through a similar cycle as what I went through in 2015. But at the same time, so the first time I was given strong antibiotics, which would have destroyed my gut microbiome, which would have, of course, assisted already, sparked the anxiety. But this time, apart from the traumatic experiences of job loss and so forth, what happened was that I ended up taking some herbal medication and some strong detox medication, which also messed up my gut. So I didn't learn from the first one, you know, and that triggered everything again. Really, really bad anxiety, panic attacks. I couldn't go outside. I couldn't, I couldn't do anything, you know. And I was in the apartment alone. And one evening, I felt a wave of anxiety hit me. I panicked and I rushed myself to the hospital. And that's when the trauma started up again. So that's the second wave of anxiety.
Got, got you. Got you. Okay. So then it happened again. And how long did that last? And how did you feel when all that was going on again?
I was depressed, disappointed because you work really hard to get over the first wave,
Hmm.
thinking that life is going to be smooth, not smooth, but smoother sailing than before. I'm living life, getting married, and so forth. But I felt depressed. I felt disappointed in myself, and it was worse this time for me mentally because it's like a major setback.
Hmm.
So it was really, really horrible. I felt I had all the symptoms possible. I was afraid to exercise. So I actually moved back home for a couple of months. And I can tell you for a fact that, after I rushed myself to the hospital and I came out, it was, yes, I was cleared of any, medical issues, but the trauma remained in my
Hmm.
mind. And that prevented me it added to this post anxiety feeling, being depressed and so forth, and not having the courage to go out, even though I could even drive,
Hmm.
could exercise, I could do anything. So I was home for a couple of months and I experienced all the symptoms possible. So it was a really bad experience, a really bad feelings daily, derealization, depersonalization, heart palpitations. I was trying to finish my master's program at the same time, and even just to do an assignment, I had anxiety. It was really bad
Hmm.
mentally. Couldn't
Hmm.
go anywhere. Couldn't leave the house.
Gotcha. Gotcha. And so that was going on. You started feeling depressed. What ended up shifting? What ended up happening? How did you start coming out of it?
Well, I searched for answers. So I'm the kind of person I like to take a holistic approach when dealing with issues, right? I call myself a solutions engineer. So I want to find out all the ways possible to fix an issue. So I tried spirituality. I tried understanding the scientific explanations of anxiety. I was searching really bad on YouTube channels. As a matter of fact, your channel helped me a lot because you broke down things in such a manner that I was able to, to really understand everything in detail. I also listened to Claire Weeks and her books, really influential. But I must say that, there was one common factor that that was at play when connecting all the dots, which was, of course, understanding the mechanics of anxiety, but there was really acceptance and courage. You have to be courageous. So what shifted for me was understanding that anxiety is not a life threat. It's not a life threat, and anxiety is not a life sentence. And eventually, I was able to develop the courage to really make the first step. Bro, like imagine just that my comfort zone is exercising. Just to exercise alone, bro, was some serious challenges. So like just to like run or to walk or to do a pull-up or to do a simple push-up was really, really hard. Because I felt these heart sensations, these chest sensations. I would feel sensations on my neck and think that I'm gonna have a stroke. It was really, really bad. But the first step is to step, is to come out of it and make the first step, And that is when things shifted a bit. So it's like different phases. The first phase was to make the first step. But no, the first phase was to understand the mechanics of anxiety, as you always say. What it is, why it is there, and why you shouldn't be afraid of it. The second step was taking that leap of faith, taking a step forward, and actually going forward with courage. Because courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is just taking the leap and going forward. So the second phase was taking the step, being courageous and so forth. And the third step was exposing yourself to what you fear the most. Exercising, driving, and so forth. I mean, it took a very long process, but I got there over a period of time. So those were the actual phases I went through to kind of, overcome the anxiety.
Gotcha. And so, yeah, so you were just pretty much watching the content and then, reading the books, but a lot of it was just you just responding with courage and through acceptance. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the only way, bro. That's the only way. I mean,
It is.
it's like, because anxiety is not a prison. It's a prison if you make it a prison. Now, don't get me wrong, it's really hard, it's really challenging to deal with these oversensitized emotions, your nerves being oversensitized. It's really hard, but once you, well, actually, no. One of the steps, the most crucial steps, was to get checked by a doctor to make sure that you're clear with a doctor, to make sure that you're okay, to make sure that you're well.
Yeah.
That brings a sense of security to your mind. So that when you get those heart palpitations, when you get those weird feelings, you realize, okay, it's just my mind playing games on me. I am healthy, and so basically your subconscious mind and your conscious mind are always at play, right? And what I've learned from a spiritual standpoint is that the subconscious, well, the mind in general is not just your head, it's not your brain, it's actually your entire body. Your mind is made up of memory. And the subconscious mind, which is on this side here, is the infinite portal of memory, traumatic experiences, wisdom, knowledge, etc. And the conscious mind is like you and I talking here right now. We are aware of what's going on. We are focused.
Yeah.
And once you understand how the subconscious mind works, you're able to it actually helps you overcome the anxiety a bit more.
Yeah.
So, for example, just from a spiritual standpoint, okay, the soul, or some people say spirit, but soul for this discussion, entails a higher self, which is love, peace, all these nice things. And the ego speaks of anxiety, depression, anger, hatred. Both have a part to play. But somebody who's anxious, they let their subconscious mind focus on the ego a bit too much.
Mm-hmm.
So once you understand those concepts, then you get to realize that it's a conscious mind is what you have to work on.
Hmm.
You know?
Yeah, no, definitely. I definitely understand that. So yeah, no, that's what really well said. So how was it for you going through the recovery journey by yourself? Like, I had to do the same thing, to a certain degree.
Yeah.
How was that journey for you? Like, how was that process? Like, what were some of the things? Like, did you have doubts along the way? Was the process really smooth? Was there a lot of hiccups? How was it for you?
Hiccups all the way, bro. Hiccups all the way. It has to. That's the only way.
Yep.
Setbacks, bad
Yeah.
experiences.
Yeah.
There are days when you wake up and you have the mindset to push forward,
Mm-hmm.
but you just feel tired and fed up and I just want to give up.
Mm-hmm.
And there are days where you feel well. There are days where you feel courageous. There are days where you feel like you could conquer the world.
Mm-hmm.
Then there are days where you just so for me, I learned is like I think you said it once: 5 steps forward, 4 steps back, and so it goes. It's like a ladder. Okay, you may fall up a ladder, so you may take the first step. Go up the ladder. When you reach the third step, you may fall down. You may feel bad. You may get injured, but you go again, and you learn from the mistakes, so you wouldn't fall again. And even if you fall 5, 7 times, you get back. You keep getting back up. So there were days when you will feel disenchanted, days where you will feel, really courageous. But the journey itself was one of, I would say, transformation,
Mm-hmm.
because you transform from. So people think that or they have this longing that one day they'll wake up and everything is gone. Like they fantasize this new version of themselves and hope that it comes, not knowing that anxiety is a transformational process where you're becoming the better or best version of yourself going forward. It takes time, it takes setbacks, it takes really bad experiences, but the good that comes out of it is you become not a new person, but a transformed individual. I always say anxiety sufferers or people who recover from anxiety, they have a different level of confidence. They're not fearful of death, they're not fearful of anything. They go forward. So it was a transformational process for me from I'm not just focusing on the past the way I was, but focusing on where I'm going. It was a very long journey, um, hiccups, setbacks, and so forth. There were days when I just wanted to give up, but courage and just going forward and using techniques that you mentioned in the program as well on YouTube, um, listening to Clear Weeks, even listening to the Dare Response. I looked at everything possible because I was desperate for answers. So the process was hard, but it was meaningful. You understand who you really are from a conscious level when you do it. So according to David Goggins, you do a life autopsy on yourself. You look into the mirror, you understand from a subconscious standpoint, because as I said before, the subconscious mind controls all these things. So if you have an experience of going to the hospital from an anxiety or panic attack, if you don't, if you just shove it in the back of your head, the same symptoms of that trauma will cycle over and over and over. You have to actually go into it, do some meditation. You can even go to a therapist with a therapy and relive those situations and then compartmentalize it in a different way than just it being a traumatic experience. So I had to go through all the live autopsies, mirror work, a lot of things. So that was my process from start to finish. Sean, I can't.
Sorry, I'm on mute
Yeah.
again. I'm doing that a lot lately.
That's okay.
No, I said got it. Well said. What would you tell somebody who is kind of like in the thick of it all, who's like kind of like how you were when you fell in the second time, like depressed right now, feels like they're unique, feels like they can't get out of it? What kind of advice would you give that person?
I would say that number one, anxiety is not doom and gloom. It is not jail. It is not a prison, right? And one of the ways to really overcome it, and yes, you're going through the feeling those sensations and it feels like the world's going to end. You feel as if you can't help yourself. But there is a silver lining. And I believe that everyone goes through something in life for a reason. Adversity and suffering leads to something greater, something better. You have to believe it. So I would say number one, watch success stories. Look at channels. Understand you're the only person going through this. And you know the funny thing? Every person thinks there's one symptom. There's one symptom that everyone really, really, really puts us there. You know, like, wow, I can't believe this happened to me. No one else is experiencing this. No, I don't think that there's any undiscovered symptom of anxiety. Yeah, and of course, you being a mentor, you would have seen everything possible, right?
Yeah, that's true. I've seen everything.
Yeah, yeah.
Like 100
So,
times.
exactly.
Yeah.
So success stories really helps you overcome it. Now, that's it. So the planning phase, right, is where you are trying to re-engage your mind, understand the mechanics of anxiety, understand that anxiety is just sensations. It's part of the ego. It is not your conscious mind. Anxiety is a subconscious mind asking your conscious mind what's wrong. And if you don't have the answers for your subconscious mind, the symptoms will not go away. So you have to plan. The planning phase includes watching videos on YouTube, seeking therapy, or even actually no, before therapy, because some people may not be able to leave their house or take that first step, but start baby steps. Look at the videos online, look at success stories, and understand what the mechanics of anxiety is, understand the flight and fight response, understand the autonomic nervous system, do some deep diving into the scientific, because science basically explains a lot, right? As you always say, knowledge dispels fear. So if you educate yourself on what's happening, then take the next step of moving forward. The next step is where you step. You actually step. And there are many steps like exposure therapy. Like if you're afraid of driving, okay, I'm not saying hop in a car now and go and take a long drive, but because I had all these symptoms, I was afraid of driving all these things, right?
Yeah.
And you pick up your car keys, you feel the anxiety, you stay there for a while, you feel it, put it back down. Next hour, next day, you go next to your car, you feel the sensations, it's really, really heavy and hard. Don't try to run from it, stay there. Because I'll tell you something, right? Your subconscious mind, right, basically, is this thick. It has clouds of all kind of thoughts and everything inside this part. It feels as if it has control over your conscious mind. That's what you feel, okay? Because the sensations and all these things are sometimes unavoidable, right? So it's your subconscious mind controlling your conscious mind. Now, what I've learned is that when you like for example, if you're in a car and you're afraid of traffic lights or just driving in general, and you feel the sensations hitting you really hard, that is subconscious mind sending stuff to you. The more you actually allow the symptoms to be there and you just settle and let it hit you, it's very challenging, very hard. But the more you allow it, that sensation to flow through you, is the weaker and smaller the subconscious mind becomes. And the conscious mind now widens because the fear is eliminated. So the subconscious mind is really sending all these fear symptoms to you, controlling your body, of course. But the more you challenge this part of your mind, challenge it, like actually challenge it and say, you know what? I'm not afraid of you. I'm going to challenge you. Bring it on. It takes courage, though. Once you do that part, your actual mind is going to become empowered. Because the fear that most people have is not being able to control these sensations, right? And when you feel that peak of anxiety hits in you really, really hard, that's when most people give up. They want to go run home and go into their corner. But if you let it flow, bro, if you let it flow, eventually you're gonna feel that empowerment, that courage, and then courage leads to realization of the fact that I didn't die. I didn't have a heart attack. I didn't, wow. And that's when the power shifts from your subconscious mind into your mind itself, and then you get control. But it takes time to really get there. That's one of the steps in the actual process of recovery.
Very well said. Yeah, no, I agree. I think I was thinking as you were talking, I was like, there's two parts of recovery, which is acceptance and courage. Exactly what you were saying.
Yeah.
Part of it. Yeah, definitely, man. Definitely. Jovan, this has been awesome, man. This has been great. Any other things you want to share to people in the audience or the people that are watching right now? You've given a lot of great advice, but I wanted to, see if anything else you wanted to really share. There's so many different directions we can go.
Yeah,
So I just wanted to
there's
ask
so much
you.
directions. So people who are watching now, I was one of them. I would watch videos, I would watch success stories, I would try to get encouragement. And that is really good. It's really good. But most people get stuck in that part. They don't take action. You have to take action. And don't be fearful. No, as I said, you have to have the weapons in place, the ammunition in place to really fight this back. And one of the weapons is to get yourself checked out by a doctor. Because most of anxiety is really a fear of sensations. That's what it really is.
Yep.
Public speaking, you're afraid of how you feel on stage.
Exactly.
Flight, if you're in a plane, you're afraid of yes, you're fearful of, unforeseen circumstances, but those feelings are what really makes you fearful. So anxiety, when it cut and dry, is really, when I dissect it, it's really the fear of how you feel. But feelings is not reality. Feelings is not a life sentence, So you have to take action. And eventually, when you take the action, you're going to realize, wow, anxiety can be my friend. Anxiety ain't the monster. We magnify as this monster or this external being that's trying to trap us in our own body, not realizing that anxiety is really in our head, it's our mind. And there are many techniques to really understand, not to understand, but to kind of dip into your subconscious mind, by now I keep mentioning subconscious mind because really and truly that's what it boils down to, right? The sympathetic nervous system is what triggers all these feelings, right? But it's really from a mindset, you know. Your body doesn't know the difference between anxiety and excitement. Hence the reason there are techniques. I think it's Mel Gibson. She said that she uses the technique of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Have an anchor thought, and that changes how you think. And you realize, wow, I'm actually excited, not anxious. But because we magnify anxiety as if is this life sentence or whatever, we forget that feelings are not just subject to anxiety. Feelings are also subject to happiness, sadness, and all these things. So I keep mentioning subconscious because that is really where it really lies at. So viewers, whoever is watching, take action. I'm telling you, it's the only way. Most people get stuck in the planning phase or the phase of just watching videos, and that's fine. That's really good. That may be a first, step to overcome it. But you have to take action. If you're afraid of driving or whatever, you have to do it. You have to do it. And of course, there are coping mechanisms that you can use, there are techniques that you can use. You did a video a couple of months or a year ago about the 5 F's. Focus is one of them.
Yeah, the 5 F's.
If you focus on your symptoms too much, you will eventually be consumed by the symptoms. So you have to have the ammunition and the weapons in place to really fight it back. And eventually, bro, after a while, you will have setbacks, you will have bad days, you will have bad experiences that make you go into a cocoon and feel weird. You have days where you feel like you want to cry. There are days when you really fed up and you can't take it anymore. All that's part of the process.
Mm-hmm.
There's a very, very big silver lining, and you have to take action. And I mean, there are many techniques that I can use: meditation, exercise. Now, a lot of people focus on just trying to find one technique that will help you. But no, one technique alone wouldn't help you. Exercise wouldn't help you alone overcome anxiety. But it helps relax your system. It helps release certain hormones, which relaxes you. It helps you build confidence that you're not sick. You know, meditation helps not to eliminate intrusive thoughts or any kind of thoughts. It doesn't eliminate it, but it helps you manage them and compartmentalize them into different compartments. You know, mindfulness, breathing techniques, Wim Hof, all these things are techniques that you can use, you know, to help. Because breathing properly helps balance balance your nervous system.
Yeah.
So yeah, so many techniques that you can use that will add value as a holistic approach, but there is a silver lining. You can overcome it very easily. It will take time. Nothing happens overnight. And read books from Clear Weeks. You can look at the day response. You can take your mentorship program, you know, and yeah, there's a lot of help out there. But you have to take the steps. You have to take the steps. You have to be courageous. One morning you may feel fearful. You may have sensations in your chest. You may feel weird. Don't focus on it. Just go. Just get up and go. Just go. Now, running into, so like a soldier running into battle is good. He's courageous. He's not fearful, but he'll get killed easily. So you must be tactical with the approach, obviously, right?
Yeah.
So you can't just run into it and I'm fearful. And no, you have a panic attack. But it's how you do it.
Yeah.
So finding the right techniques is going to really help you get there. But there is hope. Trust me, I felt everything possible. Well, my sister's a medical doctor. And if she's home, I would have been like running to her bedroom 5 times a day, complaining about the same symptoms, which was really annoying, you know? And, so that's to show you how bad it was for me, you know? Symptoms upon symptoms, neck pain, derealization, depersonalization, chest sensations, heart anxiety, everything possible. But you overcome it by pushing forward. You overcome it by just taking the leap of faith. And you realize soon enough, this big bad thing called anxiety isn't that bad. Trust me.
Yeah.
You're more powerful than you think you really are. You really are.
Yeah. Well said, man. A lot of good golden nuggets, man. That's really great. Man. I'm really happy for you.
I appreciate that.
You really understand it very well. So, yeah, I mean, that was amazing. Yeah. That's great, dude. Jovan, I appreciate it, man, for hopping on the channel and, sharing your story. I think I need to get you on Instagram Live too with me and some stuff. Yeah. So that'd be dope, man. Again, appreciate it, man. Thanks for sharing.
Well, thanks for having me, Sean. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoy the video and I'll see you in the next one.